Are you serious? Are you serious? Get some coffee, everybody. Calm down. But Russia has warned, a Russian diplomat is warning of an apocalyptic scenario, he says, on the Korean Peninsula is very possible. Matter of fact, out of reports today that an apocalyptic scenario of developments on the Korean Peninsula is very possible. But Russia hopes that a common sense would prevail among the involved parties. According to Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Igor Morgulov, he said today, a scenario of an apocalyptic development of the situation on the Korean Peninsula exists, and we cannot turn our blind eye to it, he said. Speaking at the opening of the 8th Annual Asian Conference of the Vladi Discussion Club in Seoul, South Korea. I hope that a common sense pragmatism and an instinct of self-preservation would prevail among our partners to exclude such negative scenario. Now, tensions on the North Korean peninsula remain high as North Korea actively develops its nuclear and missile programs, while the United States and its allies in the region carry out their military maneuvers. On September 3rd, of course, we know North Korea announced a successful hydrogen bomb detonation underground, causing a 6.3 earthquake when Kim Jong-un pushed the green button. But the United Nations Security Council stepped up sanctions against North Korea. Quote, we have told North Korea many times that for us, its nuclear status is unacceptable, the diplomat said, but we continue this work with the North Korean counterparts, presenting to them our position. Moscow is actively working with Kim Jong-un's regime to ensure that North Korea's unilateral moratorium on missile and nuclear tests continue as long as possible. He said, we greatly value that North Korea preserves the regime of silence for 2 months already, and that's encouraging, says Russia, and we're actively working to make sure that the current regime continues this as long as possible. So Moscow negatively assesses joint military drills of the United States and its allies in the region of the Korean Peninsula, while North Korea keeps its 2-month pause in missile and nuclear tests. So what the Russians are trying to say is, look, guys, before we have an apocalyptic conclusion to the situation, let's at least acknowledge that the North Koreans haven't fired a missile for 2 months. And the United States and South Korea and Japan maybe should tone down their military maneuvers and drills, antagonizing the North Koreans potentially into firing another missile. So this is the process that's going on. This is the diplomatic approach by the Russians to try to acknowledge that the silence of no missiles or nukes going off may be a sign of cooperation, even though we've had no coordination or no cooperation as far as through conversation from the North Koreans that they're willing to back down on their nuclear endeavors. Not at all. There has been rhetoric between Trump and Kim Jong-un, but I guess a pause is nice, but the threat's not over. We'll continue to keep a close eye on all of this as the winds of war continue to blow over the Korean Peninsula and the South Asian Armageddon clock is ticking. Give your life to Jesus Christ. He said there would be wars and rumors of wars, and nations would rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. And we're certainly living in that time today. Are you saved?